We all saw the hit that sidelined Adam Boqvist, but why didn't the Islanders stand up for their teammate? Plus, we'll have the latest on Quinn, Finley, and Cole Eiserman. All that and more on today's Locked On Islanders podcast.
Your Locked On Islanders, your daily podcast on the New York Islanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to the Thursday edition of the Locked On Islanders podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I want to thank everyone who makes Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts so you get new episodes as soon as they drop. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. I'm Gil Martin. I've been covering the New York Islanders for almost 2 decades, and I wrote the book Ice Wars on the history of the Islanders' rivalry with the Rangers from 1972 to the modern era. So glad you could join us today to talk a little Islanders hockey. And we've got a lot to discuss. We're going to discuss the injury to Adam Boqvist, why his teammates didn't stick up for him, how this affects the defense going forward, and we'll have the latest on prospects Quinn, Finley, and Cole Eiserman. I want to start with the Boqvist incident. And yeah, a lot of people are busy talking about the 2 disallowed goals and from the game against the Kings. And yeah, I don't think anybody in the league knows what goalie interference is anymore. It's something the league needs to figure out. And everydayers, we discussed it on yesterday's show, and perfectly willing to talk about it more if and when the situation calls for it. But the upsetting thing that I saw from this game, among many other upsetting things actually that I saw from this game, Adam Boqvist injured early in the second period. Kevin Fiala of the LA Kings hits Boqvist. Boqvist clearly not ready for it. A lot of questions surrounding this hit. Was it a headshot? Was it a late hit? Was it a clean hit? And I'm not saying that Fiala was intentionally trying to injure Boqvist. I don't believe that necessarily to be the case. I will say that the people who were watching this game, who, maybe watching it from a Kings perspective, and I'm speaking specifically of the great Eddie Garcia, who is the host of Locked On LA Kings, he tweeted out during the game that, it was a late hit and that the Kings were fortunate that no penalty was called on the play. I have an issue with the fact that nothing was called, okay? Again, I don't think there was an intent to injure. Boqvist did not return, probably was in concussion protocol. If you look at the way his head and neck moved as a result of the hit. And, obviously it's not good that we have that injury to Boqvist. But one thing that I was disappointed in when thinking about what happened, this happened early in the second period. And look, there is a part of me that does not like some of the aspects of old-time hockey, and there's a part of me that misses some of the aspects of old-time hockey. But one thing that people have always said about the New York Islanders is that this is a team that is cohesive, that, is close-knit. People have even gone as far as to call it a country club atmosphere, and there are aspects of that I agree with and aspects of that I don't. But this core has been together for a long time. And it was upsetting to me that when Adam Boqvist was hit by Kevin Fiala, nobody on the New York Islanders stood up for Boqvist. And it didn't have to be right at that moment. When the injury happens, your first concern is he okay? Let's get him off the ice. You know, I get that. It didn't have to be right then and there. But at some point in the game, somebody had to call out Fiala and basically send the message that, hey, it's not okay that you hit our teammate the way that you did. And whether it was a clean hit or a late hit or a headshot or a dirty shot, whatever it is, the resulting injury and the questionable nature of this hit, and I think it was a late hit and a headshot, but regardless, you've got to stand up for your teammate. And the Islanders just did not do that. Now, if you look at the reasons, maybe one of them was your two most physical players were healthy scratches. Matt Martin sitting, Scott Mayfield sitting. So, you know, who's going to go out there and do something? Would it have to be Anders Lee, Casey Cizikas maybe, Mark Gatcomb maybe? I mean, who would go out there and be that physical guy? And like I said, definitely disappointed that nobody stood up for Boqvist. Yeah, I know he's only been an Islander for a month and a half, but still, good teams, successful teams, teams that are, you know, going to win are emotionally connected to each other. They're going to stand up for their teammates and not allow other teams to push them around. It is not as big a part of hockey as it was in, let's say, 1976, 86, 96. Fine. But it's still a part of the game. And the way this team has been put together, under Barry Trotz, the Islanders were more physical and they played for each other. I don't see that as much now under Patrick Waugh. And I guess, you know, since Trotz, you've had Lambert and Waugh, and I think that physicality has been reduced. Now, obviously, Cal Clutterbuck, no longer with the team. Ross the Boss, Ross Johnston, no longer with the team. There is no enforcer on this roster at this point. And as I mentioned, two of the bigger guys, the more physical guys on the roster, were scratched. But somebody, even if it's not their typical job, has to come in and stand up for Boqvist. And it bothers me that they didn't do that. Yeah, the 0 for 8 on the power play bothers me just as much. And the way Lou Lamoriello handled the trade deadline bothers me maybe even more. But this team is not the most talented team in the league. And the only way they're going to win hockey games is to stand up for each other and be there for each other and play for each other. And if they can't get that much done, it doesn't matter. They're not going to win a lot of hockey games. And look, the way this team is put together now, especially after you trade Brock Nelson, they may not win a lot of hockey games either. And the schedule is really, really tough from here on in. But, you know, we've always said this team needs to get younger, faster, and more skilled. They also need more cohesiveness. They also need a physical element that has been lacking this year and maybe part of last year as well. But they need to stand up for each other more and better than what they have been doing. And it's not like this is a game against the Flyers or the Rangers where you see them 4 times a year. You're not seeing the LA Kings anymore. You're not going to see Kevin Fiala again this year, and that's fine. But the problem is that the message that is sent is if you deliver a hit, like the hit Kevin Fiala delivered to Adam Boqvist, there are no consequences. And especially in a situation where the referees did not call any penalty, not that it would have mattered because the Islanders' power play was dreadful, but in a situation where they did not call a penalty, the team needs to stick up for each other. And it was just very disheartening to see them not do that against LA. And unfortunately, we've seen it sometimes this year, but not enough. And it has to happen. And it may not matter for the rest of this season, but when you talk about younger, faster, more skilled, you got to add a couple of guys with a little more grit. Because the identity of the Islanders under Barry Trotz was they're not a high-scoring team. They're not a flashy team, but they are a pain in the rear end to play against, and they wear you down with their forecheck. And what was the identity line? The identity line gave this team, quote-unquote, an identity, and that was a team that was difficult to play against. That is no longer the identity of the New York Islanders. And even if it's not going to be their identity in the future, the way it was 3 years ago, 4 years ago, it's got to be a bigger part of their makeup going forward, because it was very disappointing that nobody stood up for Adam Boqvist. All right, we have got more to get to on today's show with Boqvist most likely out of the lineup. Where does the defense stand? Who's going to be in? Who's going to be out? We'll talk about that. We'll talk about Cole Eiserman and Quinn Finley, two prospects that give Islander fans some hope. And for our Islanders' birthday of the day, a winger from Merritt, British Columbia, who was with the Islanders in the mid to late 1990s. Let's see if you can guess who that is. We've got all that coming up on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Indeed. You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other sites. Indeed Sponsored Jobs puts your post at the top of the page and helps you reach the right candidates faster. I've been in that spot where you need to hire like yesterday. The pressure is on, and every day without the right person is a setback. That's exactly when Indeed Sponsored Jobs comes in handy. They make sure your post is seen by the right candidates right now. Now you could speed up your hiring process with a $75 sponsored job credit. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. That's Indeed.com/lockedon. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, Indeed, is all you need. Today's episode is also brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You could track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. When I started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on food delivery. Now I budget smarter and save more. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you could use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year. So the New York Islanders defense, obviously we're not going to see Adam Boqvist most likely. Can't say for sure, But if he is indeed in a concussion protocol, I would say it's unlikely we see him. And so the question becomes, okay, who do we see? And the Islanders have choices. They have many players who can fit in. Right now, 9 defensemen are on this roster. And, Boqvist is a right-handed shot. The easiest thing to do may indeed be to reinsert right-handed shot Scott Mayfield back into the lineup. However, Mayfield has not played particularly well since his return. And, when he has played, they've kind of limited his minutes. He was benched. And it may take him a little time to get back into the swing of things. And it's not clear right now whether or not, he is 100% healthy and really ready to play to his potential. And then there's also long-term questions about Mayfield. He's under contract until 2030 at $3.5 million a year. Is he someone the Islanders could look to trade? Is he somebody the Islanders could even potentially think of buying out this offseason? A lot of questions. There are other options besides Scott Mayfield, although they are not right-handed shots. You certainly have Scott Perunovich, who has been benched. Perunovich going to be an RFA at the end of this season. So not sure if he's going to be back. Maybe you want to get him back out on the ice in order to see whether or not you want to keep him. That's one possibility. Another possibility, you've got Mike Riley. Riley has not played since November 1st. Him being able to return to the lineup, I got to say, is encouraging. It is, him returning to health after the heart condition and the surgery needed to correct it, which was discovered when he got a concussion way back early in the season. It would be great to see Mike Riley back on the ice. And Riley is a UFA at the end of this season. Not sure whether the Islanders will opt to bring him back. Again, 9 defensemen right now on the roster, 10 if you include Isaiah George, who is likely to compete for a spot next year. But then you go through the list. Noah Dobson, RFA. Alexander Romanov, RFA. Adam Boqvist, Scott Perunovich, RFA. Tony DeAngelo, Mike Riley, UFA. You got a lot of decisions to make. I mean, I think Romanov is an easy one. The options with Dobson, to me, either you trade him, only to me, if you get a really big haul back, or you try to sign him to a bridge deal for a year, 2 years, 3 years. He is arbitration eligible. In fact, all the RFAs are arbitration eligible. I am not ready, however, to give Noah Dobson an 8-year, $9 million a year contract. Not yet. But we'll see. We'll see what the Islanders decide to do. But as of right now, you've got decisions to make for Friday's game against Edmonton, and then you've got your long-term decisions. And they're related because you have the last number of games left in this season, and it's 18 games. You have 18 games left to try to figure out who you want to bring back and who you don't want to bring back. And it's important that you get it right. And age is a part of this. I mean, I'm tired of talking about the age of the team, but again, Ryan Pollock, Adam Pelech, 30. Scott Mayfield, 32, 33. Mike Riley, 31. Even Tony DeAngelo, 29, going on 30. Young guys, you've got Dobson, you've got Romanov, Perunovich, and Boqvist. Those are your younger guys. And again, ideally, you want a good mix of younger guys and older guys, physical guys and fast guys. Patrick Waugh seems to prefer quicker, puck-moving defensemen. And I think when Lou Lamoriello brought in your Boqvists, your Perunoviches, and your DeAngelos, it worked, especially initially, better because the Islanders were kind of playing Patrick Waugh's style a little bit more. Move the puck quicker. The tension between the way Patrick Waugh wants this team to play and the way the roster put together by Lou Lamoriello was built to play has kind of been a behind-the-scenes issue for this team all year long. And sometime between now and the end of the season, the Islanders have to figure out what they want to be. The playoffs this year, not looking likely. But who comes back? Who moves on? How much you pay them? How many years? Do you trade them? Do you buy them out? Do you re-sign them? Do you bridge deal them? Do you give them the long-term extension? These are all important questions facing the Islanders organization, whether they go 18-0 in their last 18 games or 0-18. It's out there, and this team needs to figure it out. Let's see if they can. We've got more to get to on today's show. We'll talk about two of the biggest prospects that the Islanders have. Reasons for hope. Quinn Finley, Cole Eiserman. That, plus our Islanders birthday of the day, coming up next on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by your friends at FanDuel. March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's 200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories and even who's cutting down the nets. I got my eye on a few underdogs this year, and FanDuel makes it easy to back them with spreads, totals, and game props. With tournament games happening almost every day, there's always something exciting to bet on, and the FanDuel app is simple to use, and when I win, I get paid instantly. No waiting around. So visit FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. FanDuel.com. Check it out right now. So a little news for two of the Islanders' top prospects. And, you know, it's great to see a little good news about these players because every Wednesday, everydayers know, we do the farm report and we talk about what's happening in Bridgeport, and it gets depressing. I'm getting comments on YouTube. Hey, you know, the farm report's getting me down. And I get it. The Bridgeport Islanders right now have the worst record in the AHL, and it's difficult to talk about this team losing week after week after week. But there are college prospects who give the New York Islanders hope. And one of them is Quinn Finley, a third-round pick in 2022, now playing with the University of Wisconsin Badgers. But his season at Wisconsin came to an end earlier this week. And this year, Finley did well. 20 goals and 20 assists. That's 40 points in 37 games. He led Wisconsin, the Badgers, in both goals and points. And, you know, he's shown that he's got a better than expected shot. He's got good vision on the ice, and he passes well as shooting well. But there's still aspects of his game that he needs to work on. And like many players at his age, strength is one of them. Skating is another. That is only true for some players. And then playing defense. The way many scouts view Finley is as a middle six kind of a guy. The comparison that many scouts have made is Robbie Fabry of the Anaheim Ducks. He'll play on the power play and, contribute that way once he gets to the Islanders. But we don't know what his next step is. Finley could come back to Wisconsin for a third season. That's one alternative. He could sign an entry-level deal with the Islanders, but that wouldn't make a lot of sense because you would burn 1 year of that entry-level contract this late in the season. That wouldn't make a lot of sense. The third option is that he tries to sign an ATO, an amateur tryout, at Bridgeport. And I think that is either that or he stays at Wisconsin for another year. And, the ATO would allow him to play with Bridgeport for the rest of this season. And, that's what Alex Jeffries did a year ago. And Jeffries ended up playing 12 games with Bridgeport. And, again, not sure whether Finley is ready. And I have mixed feelings. And again, this goes back to the way this organization is run. Bridgeport is playing so poorly this season that I think it might be better for Finley to stay in school. Because if he signs a pro contract with the tryout with Bridgeport, is he going to get demoralized? Is he going to fall into that black hole of negativity that Bridgeport seems to be? It is difficult to say what is best for his development, but as of right now, those are his choices, and we'll keep you up to date. But a good second season for Quinn Finley at Wisconsin. Meanwhile, Cole Eiserman, he continues to shine at BU, and he was named this week to the Hockey East All-Rookie team. 20 goals on the season. One of only 5 players in Hockey East to reach that milestone. And, there's only a handful of other freshmen out there at BU who have scored 20 goals in their freshman year. Listen to this list: Clayton Keller, Jack Eichel, Macklin Celebrini. Pretty good company. You got Jay Pandolfo coaching him. That's someone that Lou Lamoriello knows and trusts. And now the question again is, does he stay in school another year? Does he sign a contract and maybe, do the same thing with the tryout contract in Bridgeport? Or does he sign a big-time contract with the Islanders and would not suggest him burning that first year? And I think overall, Eiserman still needs a lot of work on the defensive aspects of his game and a lot of other aspects of his game when he's not shooting the puck. I think another year at school makes the most sense, and then maybe turning pro at the end of next season. Or, we'll see. It will depend on whether things get a little better in Bridgeport or not. But they've got to clean that up, the Islanders organization. Time now for our Islanders birthday of the day. And, Saturday will be the 55th birthday of former Islanders winger Paul Cruz, the Merritt, BC native, 4th-round pick of the Calgary Flames in 1990, made his NHL debut in one game in 1990-91 for the Flames, joined the Islanders in the 96-97 season and spent most of 96-97 and 97-98 on the island, then joined the Buffalo Sabres, San Jose Sharks, and finished his career in Europe. Cruz played in 423 NHL games in his career, 38 goals, 71 points, and 1,074 penalty minutes. Add 5 goals, 7 points in 28 playoff games. His best game as an Islander, pretty easy. February 2nd, 1998, Islanders visiting the Igloo in Pittsburgh. Tommy Salo, the goalie for the Islanders. Tom Barrasso, the goalie for the Penguins. And in the second period, with the Islanders trailing 1-0, our Islanders' birthday of the day, Paul Cruz, ties the game. Assists to Brian Smolinski and Robert Reichel. Then, after a power play goal by Ziggy Palffy made it 2-1 Islanders, Paul Cruz strikes again an unassisted goal, his 6th of the year at 13:36. That made it a 3-1 Islanders lead. In the end, the Islanders win it by a score of 4-2, and Tommy Salo with 28 saves in the win. For our Islanders' birthday of the day, Paul Cruz, he had 2 goals. He was a +3. He had 4 penalty minutes. He had the game-winning goal, and he scored on both shots he took while being on the ice for 14 minutes and 16 seconds. So Paul Cruz is our Islanders' birthday of the day. I want to thank you for making Locked On Islanders your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the Locked On NHL podcast, bringing you the daily league-wide stories that matter with the local coverage you love from Locked On. Find Locked On NHL on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. If you have a question, a comment, maybe a topic you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, email us at lockedonislanders@gmail.com. And if you leave your first name and where you're from, we're happy to mention you on the show when we discuss whatever's on your mind. You could follow the show on X at Locked On Isles, and you could follow me, Gil Martin, on X at Ice Wars, NYR, VSNYI. We'll keep you up to date on all things Islanders all year long, and I am live tweeting during nearly every Islanders home and road game. So join me for a little instant insight and analysis, and it's always great to talk Islanders hockey with you, game time or anytime. Everydayers, we're back tomorrow. We will have a full preview of this weekend's games against the 2 Stanley Cup finalists of a year ago, the Edmonton Oilers and the Florida Panthers, plus the latest Islanders news, notes, and happenings. Have a great day, everybody. Stay safe. And of course, let's go Islanders.